How do you debate Nigel Farage? Well, it's very difficult. This is a man who has a great ability to not answer a direct question. He's very slippery, he obfuscates, he's a big fan of whataboutery. When confronted with his behaviour or behaviour of his party, he deflects and is very unable just to be direct and just take responsibility and accountability for his behaviour. And this comes from the Trump Playbook. It's the grievance, it's the victim culture of fascism, and the fact that they are always the victim. They're always acting defensively against another. And this is emotional, it's irrational, it's fear-based politics. And how do you argue against this? It's very difficult. You can't argue against emotion, because emotions, although they have their place, aren't factual, they're not argued, they're not data-based, they're just a feeling. And feelings can be very deceptive and misleading. And that's the problem we have now, because in the last few years, it's been very difficult to have a good faith discussion with people on the right, because they don't care about facts, they don't care about figures, they just want to implement their political will against another. And you could do that, 10, 20 years ago, but now we have the internet and we have these facts are very accessible. It's very accessible to look at the benefits of immigration, and it has net benefits economically, culturally. It's a positive, it's an all-round good, it just is. And if you don't believe that, you're not looking at the economics, you don't care about the economic arguments, you're looking at cultural and racial arguments. And that's where we get into trouble, and we get into the culture wars. Because in my next video I'm going to talk about the culture wars, but the culture wars aren't as successful, and people are getting bored with the culture wars. People know there's real problems facing them: housing, education, schools, so many problems facing us in the 21st century. So when you have a figure like Nigel Farage who can't answer a direct question, you can't have a good faith discussion about immigration and the net benefits, and how historically we're an island of immigrants. Over the last 4,000 years, we are a rich tapestry of cultures from all over the world, and it's our strength. It really is. If you don't believe that, you don't really care about equality. You are signalling the fact that people should keep to their own. People shouldn't be coming here. People should stay in their own countries. And it just gets very messy when you start to go down that route, because historically, look at where it goes to. It usually isn't a good place. So a big part of the debate is, since 2016, we do live in a post-truth, post-fact era of politics. People don't care about facts anymore. People don't care about statistics, especially on the right. Now, Michael Gove famously said during the Brexit debate that people are sick and tired of the experts. And what does he mean by that? He's saying, essentially, they don't care about the economic benefits of being in the EU. They just want out, and it's not a evidence-based policy. It's not what's best for the public. It's, we've got our own agenda and we want out of the EU. And what was Brexit really about? In some ways it was about Brexit, but really it was about, they were going to crack down on tax evasion and tax avoidance. Also, Rupert Murdoch, one of the most powerful men in the world, didn't have any influence in Brussels. He'd go to Westminster and they'd do what he told them. He went to Brussels, they ignored him. It really is that simple stuff. It seems complicated, these things, but sometimes they are very simple. It's about power. Brexit wasn't about sovereignty. That was the pretext. Even some ways not about immigration, because they knew that they couldn't stop immigration. The Tories know that they can't really stop immigration in any meaningful way because of the complicated factors in countries like the Middle East and Africa at the moment. So again, you're up against someone who can't answer a direct question, isn't good faith about what he really believes. He's all dog whistles and obfuscation and sleight of hand. And then you've got the era of post-fact, post-truth, and then you add on to that conspiracy theory. Farage is a conspiracy theorist. He's been on the Alex Jones show. He's friends with people like Steve Bannon, Donald Trump, big conspiracy theorists. And again, it taps into that post-fact. They don't care about facts. It's about a feeling. It's a paranoia. It's about, oh, I feel this way about this other. Conspiracy theories fill a void where there's questions and not obvious evidence. For example, the Trump assassination attempt. That's going to be a vibrant area for conspiracy because we probably never know the motive of the murderer or potential assassin. So that's rife for conspiracy. That happened in 1960s with Lee Harvey Oswald when he was shot. And when there's no easy answers to problems, it's very easy to give simple solutions or conspiracy theories. And that's what the right are very good at. It's very easy to just give very simple, populist, kind of not complicated and not really evidence-based solutions to big, very complex and deeply embedded social, political and economic problems. So you've got, how can you debate with someone who's so simple-minded that they just think immigration is a problem? Because it lacks critical thinking. Because what's going on in the Sahel in Africa at the moment is very complicated. You've got Mali, you've got Burkina Faso, Niger. There's very complicated issues going on in that area of the world of North Africa. And also the Middle East as well. And we've got our hands in both of them. We colonised countries in Africa. We've also created a lot of problems in the Middle East in 1913 when we drew a line between the Middle East. We split the Middle East between France and the UK, and we are culpable and very responsible for a lot of the conflict, the ethnic tensions in the Middle East. So these things are very complicated. And what responsibilities do we have when we cause a lot of the problems in the world, in Africa and the Middle East? I think we do have a problem. We do have a responsibility. That's why I do welcome, although it's no money, Keir Starmer is proposing 84 million to Africa to kind of try and resolve some of the problems facing Africa. They've got, in the Sahel, they've got many problems with drought. There's jihadist militia kind of taking over. France is struggling to kind of keep a hold on their former colonies because of there's so many problems with civil war and coups and very complicated problems. So we need to obviously confront and take our part in the responsibility for what's happening in Africa and the Middle East. But also we need to rely on the experts for what is going on in these problems and look at the data and look at the studies and be honest and have a discussion and go, okay, right, what are the positives of immigration and what are the negatives? And look at it and go, okay, what is the best solution? What's the best policy to confront the problems we have on housing, healthcare, education? And look at the data and be honest and go, okay, what can we do about this? It's very simple stuff. It's about having an honest debate and not just scapegoating and kind of falling into the culture war trap of the right. Because they are very good at just blaming their problems on trans people, on gays, on black people, on immigrants, on women, on everybody but themselves. And it's that grievance, that fascist ideology that people are just after me. They're undermining the social fabric, and it's very exhausting and it's very hard to argue with. It's very difficult. I've been trying to do it for the last few weeks. It's very difficult because how do you argue with emotions and lack of facts and rejection of empirics and science and rational thinking? It's kind of very difficult. So comment below, how do you argue with conspiracy theory, people who obfuscate, who can't answer directly, who won't be honest with what they believe, and the fact that immigration is a culture war tactic that has been very useful and very potent in dividing people and giving very simple solutions to complicated questions. So comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.